Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy KJ5 to the 2. You're listening to
Yo,
Amp
what
Radio.
they do?
SA.
Your boy Official, and I just came by to encourage my brother SA with Amp Radio and Web Us as part of this.
Yo, what's good, fam? It's your boy DM, and you listening to SA from Death to Self Records on Amp Radio. Check it out.
I'm covered in the blood while he hung, cause he dripped wet. While he was in the garden.
What up? It's your boy Bishop Chase, man. You know, just wanted to leave a shout out to my man SA. Man, you doing big things, man. Keep repping Christ. You know, keep doing what you're doing. I love what you're doing with the show, man. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Youngtown.
Girl LF.
Freshman.
This is Kim Frank.
I just want to encourage y'all to be checking out Amp Radio, one of the hottest radio shows on the web right now, for your music to be played as well as other music to be played as well as your music and stuff like that. Hey, you listening to Amp Radio. You know what I mean? Just keep doing what you do, man. God moves. Alright, bro. One love.
Keep it locked right here.
What's good? What's good? What's going on, everybody? It's your boy SA back again for another exciting episode of Amped Radio. Check it out. I hope you guys had an amazing week. We are back here on Thursday. That's right, weekly and live. So shout outs to everybody on the Facebook. Shout outs to everybody on YouTube. Shout outs to everybody who's in the chat right now. Just want to give a shout out to the team, to the fam right now. Polarity and Freshman, y'all holding it down on the Facebook chat. J Deuce, I'm looking for you, bro. Where you at, dog? All right, well, as always, we're going to get into some songs. First up is City Lights by Conscious, followed by Price to Pay by Freshman. We'll be back right here on Amps Radio. You're tuned into the mix. Hope you enjoyed the show. We're going to talk about some awesome stuff here today, and we'll get right into it. All right, so talk soon. See you in a bit.
A man gone wrong in the city lights. His plan started strong, he gon' get it right. He understands all along how the game goes. Eyes wide on the prize, had the same glow. Foot to the pedal shift, look through the meadow. I was shook, looking at the devil. Hooked to the metal, turned crook, soot in the ghetto. Took my Geppetto, cut the strings, overlooked. Cooked, wait until it settled, then I jumped out the pan. Couldn't understand, got clean, trying to get a grip. Grease on my hands, saw light as it was. Looked up, cried, he was right, unjust. And my life wasn't enough, so it's back to the club. House party, prom dates, acting all scrub. That's what my mom hates, really wanted love, but the love wouldn't dilate, cause we were doing drugs. That's when I heard my mind say, come back, it's never gonna work out. You're only gonna chase a dream, and I hate to see what it takes to bleed. It's never gonna work out. It's never gonna work out. And you basically lose faith in him, cause you're chained to me. Now come back, 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 back. Come on, you were raised not to break women. You ain't supposed to contribute within a lame gimmick. And people think that this Christ goer is bipolar. So I'ma change that lane and keep my life sober. My eyes changed looking at a screen. Looking through fantasies, looking for a dream. Looking at the negative, replicated scenes. The only male role model at the kid at 16. Look, I didn't choose the traits that my pops had. Thank God he got me mad enough to pop back. Told myself my kids would never have a lost dad. And they would image the same presence that God had. The contradictions and monsters within the living. Toxicity got me in a vivid, costly image of sinning, but you gotta picture it. Betraying all my fellowship for godless benefits. Come back, it's never gonna work out. You're only gonna chase a dream, and I hate to see what it takes to bleed. It's never gonna work out. What's that? It's never gonna work out. Come on. And you basically lose faith in him, cause you're chained to me. Now come back, 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 back. My grandpop still live in the bland box. His thoughts made him foolish, he stuck in a sandbox. He finally saw colors, mom brought a crayon box. All hell broke loose, but screw it, we can't stop. So it's back to the block again. Gotta let the kids see, we can't let it box us in. Gotta show your enemies, you're not gonna box us in. Hurt, but I'ma let it bleed. Box, box, box. Lost grandma at 17. I gotta let it breathe. I think about him when I see a box. I think about it when I see a box. Know it's all strange, know it's gotta rain. Know I'm not alone, know I need pain. Know I shouldn't blame, know I'm not ashamed to say you're too unique to change, but I can't stay the same. Calling out, come back, it's never gonna work out. You're only gonna chase a dream, and I hate to see what it takes to bleed. It's never gonna work out, it's never gonna work out. And you basically lose faith in him, cause you're chained to me. Now come back, 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 no!
Turn it up.
This is not your ordinary radio.
What you got? Alright.
You're listening to Ant Radio.
Where the party
Brought
at?
to you by D2S Records. We got you in the mix.
Yo, let me in. Yo, let me in. Open up. Come on.
Oh, you know who this is.
Yeah.
Ha.
Tell them.
Fresh man.
Yo, Exile.
This is serious.
This is so serious.
Island of Exile Records on the track.
Exile Records. Check it.
What up, dude? You going to the show tonight? I heard this crazy MC's got a flow this tight. He's been doing shows with his bros and the like, and he's big in the biz with his bros and his wife.
Okay, so you sparked my interest. This is a perfect opportunity to mix with a fellow MC. I hope he's got flows that ignite the passion I know we both have.
Man, I think so, but you're right. I've never heard him live, but I think he can write though. Got lyricist of 2006 on some website and made it sound to me like he was dynamite.
I'm naturally inclined to be curious if other MCs are serious or delirious. We're in this game to attain something higher than the world can really understand.
Watch what you say, think before you speak. Practice what you preach, there's a price to pay. Freestyles ain't free when you rock mics in the spotlight. Somebody's gotta pay the fee. Watch what you say, think before you speak. Practice what you preach, there's a price to pay. Freestyles ain't free when you rock mics in the spotlight. Somebody's gotta pay the fee.
Hey yo man, so I was just kinda wondering, what'd you think of that performer? What'd you think of his style? What he said?
It's difficult because I understand why an MC reacts to critical feedback with heat. It's a fine line between saying something to help another artist sound clean and just starting beef. That said, I must proceed to analyze the way that his conduct affected his creative influence. Kids do what they see, and frankly, some of his comments were weak and messed up. When we step up to represent Christ, we put our entire life on display. Everything we do, everything we say can be perceived by the masses the wrong way. All day we're on trial by fire, trying to fight the system we're trapped inside of. It's a pity no one ever said that it was easy to be a Christian.
Watch what you say, think before you speak. Practice what you preach, there's a price to pay. Freestyles ain't free when you rock mics in the spotlight. Somebody's gotta pay the fee. Watch what you say, think before you speak. Practice what you preach, there's a price to pay. Freestyles ain't free when you rock mics in the spotlight. Somebody's got to pay the fee.
Hey man, I gotta know something. What'd you think of that cat the other night? Tell me what you think, man.
He actually sounded grounded, solid performer, left the crowd astounded. Loud and surrounded with nice beats knocking at the monitor system. Ill pleasing vocals, I can see why peeps listen. He wasn't too flashy with the ice and all. He was a nice dude, reppin' Christ and all. No gold teeth to talk him, got the rims to spin. They're getting wasted every weekend drinking juice and gin. But that freestyle he spit got me thinking a bit. How you should really get to thinking before you move your lips. Did you hear the words he uttered? The one he muttered? That's pushing the envelope if it ain't already ruptured. When you rock mics in the spotlight, you're accountable for what you say. There's a price to pay, and I think the most important thing to remember is that what you put on record is on record.
Watch what you say, think before you speak. Practice what you preach, there's a price to pay. Freestyles ain't free when you rock mics in the spotlight. Somebody's gotta pay the fee. Watch what you say, think before you speak. Practice what you preach, there's a price to pay. Freestyles ain't free when you rock mics in the spotlight. Somebody's gotta pay the fee.
is Price to Pay by my boy Freshman. Y'all know Freshman. Give it up for Mr. Freshman, who's actually holding it down right now as a moderator here in the chat. So once again, guys, if you are new to this, we are live on Facebook and YouTube. And if you're on either platform, you could chat with us right now. We got my boy Freshman as the moderator. Also, Polarity is on the Facebook chat as well. And my boy Deuce is around somewhere. So just wanted to welcome you once again. We are on episode number 6. Count with me. 6 of Amped Radio. So we're getting closer to episode 10. And I'm really excited, guys. I'm really excited. First of all, I want to give a shout out. I am actually honored to have the host of a show here with us today. I'm gonna try my best to say her last name. Probably gonna butcher it. Try not to, but y'all give it up for Leah Ballett. Leah, I know you're in the chat. Let me know if I said that right. But Leah Ballett, the host of the Leah Show. Just a quick shout out for her right now. If you have not seen the Leah Show, you are missing out. It's a new YouTube show, new YouTube series, and you could go on there, just look for the Leah Show. That's the keyword. Type it in there once you get to YouTube, and you will find it. It's the girl with the big smile right there. Her latest episode was on Chick-fil-A and relationships, and yes, that two of my favorite topics. So just to let you know, as soon as I saw that episode, I had to have some Chick-fil-A, so that's exactly what I had that night. The Leah Show is a very encouraging YouTube series, and I highly recommend every one of you guys to watch it, check it out, and subscribe. All right. So shout outs to my girl, shout outs to my friend, my sister in Christ, Leah Ballett, the Leah Show. Check it out. All right. So all the pleasantries out of the way. It's your boy SA, still hosting this thing. I wanted to bring you up to this new topic. I have not introduced the topic yet. So today's topic is, does art have any responsibility? So we're gonna get into a little bit of deepness, a little bit of depth here. Let me lower the background music just a little bit to get in your ears here. We're gonna talk about art. And if you've been following us on Amped Radio for the last few episodes, you know that the purpose of Amped Radio is to encourage people who are getting into music. So if you are a music artist, if you are a worship singer, or not even just so much music, but ministry in general, if you're in any one of those categories, this show's for you. The show is an opportunity to just discuss topics, and again, this is a discussion. So don't just let the Puerto Rican talk. Don't let the Puerto Rican talk. Y'all talk. Y'all speak right there in the chat. This is live for a reason. I could keep this going as just a pre-recorded show, but we wanted to make this a live thing so that it is interactive. You can have a voice, and I would love to bring you on the show if you got something to say. In fact, we have our first interview coming up at the end of next month, so y'all be prepared for that. But if you have anything to say and you don't want to say it in the chat, you can always send an email to us, ampedradio@death2selfrecords.com. That's death, the number 2, selfrecords.com. And that's what we got. All right, so does art have any responsibility? We're talking about music, we're talking about ministry, but when I say art, I'm mostly talking about music, right? Because art is a music form. I'm an artist. I've been an artist for as long as I can remember. Ever since I was given a piece of paper and a pencil, I've drawn comic books, created my own superhero characters. So in many different ways, I'm purely an artist. So we're talking about that, and also but we're really gonna hone in on the music side for the rest of this episode. Before we get further into it, as always, for the last few weeks, I've been previewing episodes of Underdogs. Underdogs is our video series that is documenting our 15th year as a record label. So we've been around since 2004, and we've had artists signed from all over the US. And So now here we are in 2019. This is our 15-year anniversary. And so Underdogs is just chronicling the development of who we are, the development of our upcoming albums. My album's coming out soon, TBA. Anyway, so today we're previewing episode number 4. And if you want to take a look at any of these episodes, the full versions of them are right on Facebook. If you go to Facebook, look at D2S Records, you'll find it. And also, if you're on YouTube, type in Def2 Self Records, and you'll find a playlist for Underdogs. Without no further ado, though, let's get into the preview of episode number 4 of Underdogs, and then we'll come right back to, does art have any responsibility? Stay tuned. Check this out.
So then, at the age of 21, I got married to my wonderful husband. You guys might know him, S.A. And I decided I'll get back into the music, but I decided that it would be behind him, and I'll just support him and push his music forward, and you know, I'll do stuff on the side whenever I can. And that really led to like a 10-year hiatus for my music, for what I felt like God was calling me to do. And I've realized that, not that it was a mistake to push him forward and to support him, but it was a mistake to not grow in my gift, you know, to grow in my desire and my passion. So the past couple of years, I've been just starting to write again and starting to get a vision and a passion for it again. And this coming year, I get to work on my first full album, and I'm very excited about that. So as a Christian record label, sometimes people might question the relevance of our music, because not everyone's Christian, obviously. So what our heart is to show the love of God, to show what He has shown us, not to force anyone into something or to make someone believe something that we believe, but it's to show the love that God has shown us. And so with that, you know, I believe that our music is very powerful, very impacting, because it is not focused on what you should do, what you should be like, what you should look like on the external, or who you should model yourself after on the external, but it is something that has shown, that God has shown us, is how to love.
Alright, so hope you guys enjoyed that sneak preview of episode number 4 of Underdogs. That was featuring my wife, who is known on the D2S roster as Polarity. Some of y'all know her as Brittany. So last couple weeks I've introduced episode 1, which featured my boy Freshman. Episode 2 featured myself. And I just realized this is very late in the game, but this is actually episode 3 that I just previewed, not episode 4. My mistake. So episode 3 featuring Polarity. So quality control, you guys didn't call me out on that. I'm just playing. Anyway, all right, so Freshman's also holding it down on the YouTube chat right there. I see ya. And Leah, I see ya. And yeah, so want to give a shout out and thanks for that. All right, so Underdogs, be sure to check it out. This was chronicling Polarity's journey through music and how she got into it, how she developed a love for it, and what her goal is. And so what you're gonna see when you check out Underdogs is you're gonna see every artist on the label, and that we're just not doing music for the sake of it, but there's a real purpose behind it. There's a deeper meaning to it. And that ties into what we're talking about today, which is the responsibility that you have when you are a music artist. Now, this is a debate probably as old as time. We've talked about, well, not we personally, but there's been discussions, there's a lot of talk about, and I say talk about a lot, I realize that, but there is a lot of discussion about music and the effects that it has, and does it really influence people? Does it have any sort of control? And so, what are your thoughts? What do you think about music? I would really like, before we get into me raising up these discussion points and delving into them, I'd really like to know, what do you think about music? Do you think that music has a natural influence? Or is it just art and you take it as it is, and it really means nothing else to you? I want to know. I have another video to show you that actually relates to this, but before I get into it, I just want to tell you a little bit of my backstory when it comes to music. When I was, you know, snot-nosed young kid, when I was a teen in the Bronx of New York City, I used to listen to all sorts of angry music, you know. For those who don't know, I was picked on a lot growing up. I was the nerdy kid, and so, you know, I got picked on a lot. And my only escape was music. And I was raised in a devout home. I was always a Christian, always a believer, but there were certain artists that I used to listen to. And it's ironic that I listened to rap music because later on I, you know, realized how I didn't want to go that route, but I became a rapper anyway. But I used to listen to a lot of Eminem, a lot of 50 Cent, a lot of Jay-Z, Ja Rule, and these are classics from the 90s, guys. But I also listened to a lot of Linkin Park, a lot of Evanescence, a lot of, not screamo, but definitely a lot of hard rock. And, you know, this was my escape. It was my emotional escape. I used to listen to these songs, you know, headphones blaring. I mean, like, it was the purpose of me raising the volume so high was to force the depression and the feelings that I was struggling with to get outside of my body, you know, to lift me up and make me feel stronger than how I really felt, which at that moment I felt defeated. I felt insignificant. I'm sure many can relate. I'm sure many who listen to that type of music listen to it because they want to escape from their lives, which they feel they have no control over. And so when I listened to that music, it was like therapy for me. It was therapy, and it was like music that I can relate with. Even to the point where I didn't really relate, because in a lot of these songs, like if you listen to, you know, early Eminem, a lot of these songs had a lot of violence towards, you know, taking revenge on those that were hurting you. Now, I never would dream of taking revenge on anyone, but the concepts and the thoughts as the music was playing those thoughts through my ears and through my mind, it wasn't tempting, but it was cathartic. And that sounds messed up, but talking to the teenage version of myself, that's what it was. And it suppressed all of the weak emotions that I was dealing with, and it pushed it out. And so, to me, in a sense, it helped. However, there is one thing that was the flip side of it, was that I noticed that as I got into that culture, because it became a culture to me, as I got into listening to that music more and more, I realized that my personality started to change along with it. I realized that, you know, the soft-spoken, laid-back, quiet, shy guy that started listening to this music became more angry, had a shorter temper, a shorter fuse, and certain words would escape my lips that never did before. And my perspective on things would change. I would never take advantage of people or situations, but I started having this elevated mentality like, yeah, I'm better than you. Yeah, you think you got one on me, but you don't even know. I could do this, 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 and this, but, you know, I'm too good for you. You're not worth my time. You know what I'm saying? Quick shout outs to Joseph Evans, who is chatting on the YouTube tip. What's up, bro? It's been forever since I've seen you, man. Thanks for joining in. So that was my personal experience. And, you know, on the outside, you'd never see that. On the outside, I was still the same clean church boy that I always was. You never hear me cuss. You never see me do anything. But on the inside, the anger, I mean, not the anger, but the hurt, the pain, was replaced with anger and this inner struggle. And so it made me feel good because it did make me feel stronger, but it gave me this entitled feeling. It gave me not just entitled, but also just that I'm better than most people. And I remember the day that I took a step back and realized what it was doing to me. I remember that, and I remembered seeing that. And looking, you know, when you look back on things, you can see the destruction that you left behind. I didn't do anything outwardly, but seeing what it did to relationships that I had, even to my own family, to how I treated my sister, how I treated my parents, things took effect. Now, they weren't to the scale of what you may have, you know, what you may hear on the news and people claiming, oh, you know, part of it has to do with the music that they listen to. Had nothing to do with that. I mean, it wasn't to that same scale, but the effects were real and they were definite. So I want to play a video for you guys. This is actually from, I found this on YouTube from the, I'm going to pull it up here, the Boston's Children's Hospital. The video is titled, How Does Music Affect Behavior? And it's only a minute and a half long. I want you to check this out, and then we're going to return to our discussion. Stay with us on the chat. Let us know that you're checking us out, and also continue to dive in. Just remember, this is discussion, so I want y'all to voice your opinions on this, and we'll get into some scripture, and we'll be right back. Check this out.
Music, particularly among adolescents, is a very powerful motivator of behavior. It wasn't so long ago that an entire war was turned on the basis of youth music with Vietnam. And music was really central to the counterculture and the culture that rose up and said, we're not going to take this anymore. I don't think we should underestimate the power of music, because music touches the limbic system, or the emotional system of our brain, which actually, though slower than other parts, can overwhelm all of the other parts. Think about how we lose our mind when we fall in love. And we literally do, because of the power of the emotion. That being said, the music system has been very unresponsive even to industry-applied ratings. All that they had been willing to do was to put parental advisory on the outside of CDs. They would not print lyrics in a visible place. This is complicated by the fact that the Federal Communication Commission has strict limits on what can be broadcast over the air. And historically, the way popular music has been sold is through airplay. We can't expect a system to be put together that will perfectly protect us. We need to protect ourselves. We need to be aware that these media change us and affect us. And we need to actively understand what they're doing, how they're doing, and make choices of whether we want that to be done to us.
All right. So, let me ask you guys, what did you think of that video? I think that there's some pretty good thoughts there. And relating to my personal experience, it sounds pretty, you know, pretty on the nose. Now, obviously, there's several factors here. You cannot just look at this and think, oh, well, it's always just cut and dry. It's always just black and white. There's other factors that obviously go into it. One is that we all don't have the same mind, you know? It's kind of like when you look at who can be hypnotized and who cannot be hypnotized. It just depends on the person. How is their will? Are they strong-willed? Are they weak-willed? And this is no slam on anyone. It's just we're all developed. I mean, we have the same, you know, we're all created in the image of God, but we're all created differently. And different doesn't mean bad. But, you know, my mentality is different than yours. Yours is different than so-and-so's. We're all different. So the way that music interacts with us, we interact with it. It interacts with us and we interact with it differently. So it's the mind. It's, you know, the kind of mind that you have. It's also your upbringing, and it's your relationships. It's circumstantial. There's so many different factors that go into how music can play with your life, and does it stand as to be an influence? But one thing I will say, and I will make a case for, and y'all go ahead and tell me if you agree or disagree. I believe that music has an influence, period. Whether it's a small influence or whether it's a large influence. Now, I think that scale will you know, change based on those circumstances that we just discussed. However, suffice to say is that there is an influence. And one of the things that I always draw to is the fact that me as a Christian, I believe that there's a God and there's a devil. And I believe that the devil, prior to being the devil, was once an angel in heaven who actually orchestrated all of the music that went on in heaven. He was the first worship leader. And the origin, if you want to find the origin of music, it came from heaven. That music originally, in its basic form, where it all came from, music was intended to be sounds glorifying God. It's meant to glorify God. It's meant to worship God. And, you know, obviously, when we're in this world, you know, we do have worship and praise that we have in church and ministries, but we also have, you know, music that we all listen to, recreational music. And so, so I believe that, you know, with music being the devil's skill, his craft, I believe he still has it. You know, he still has a knack for it. And I believe that if you are not careful, you can absolutely be influenced the wrong way. Can it be mind control? I don't know per se, but it can be close. Just the same way that I allowed, and here's the thing, you have to allow it too. You have to, again, it's all about the circumstance. I was in a situation where, you know, I was hurt. I was just looking for an escape. I mean, everybody that you talk to, they'll tell you that they got into music because it was an escape, right? So I was looking for an escape, and the music that I listened to was able to comfort me, but it also did certain things. Now, I didn't do anything, but I recognized what it was doing to me internally. So we have to recognize that whether it's a small degree or a large degree, music does have an influence and it does play a role. And whether you agree or not, it's wise to just be cautious. Now, let's talk to the music artists that are watching. Let's talk to the ministers that are watching. We're talking about the responsibility tacked on to music or art. And do you have a responsibility as an artist to your music? Well, I think it's pretty obvious. Discussing what we've been showing for the last few minutes, I think that you do have a responsibility. And I think that when you look at art, and here's the thing, I grew up drawing as an art form. I used to go to museums and draw from the naked statues that I'd see in the museums. I remember drawing a live nude that was in my college that day. And a lot of people look at that. I mean, I've had people approach me and say, whoa, how can you do that and not let it do anything to you? But honestly, as an artist, I just saw it as a work of art. I didn't see anything else, you know? So there's certain degrees where you have to understand from perspective. As an artist, you think and you feel and you believe, hey, just take this objectively because this is my art. This is my craft. This is what's coming out of me. And as an artist, I just like to let it come freely, without judgment. Just let it be. You know, that's why we look at painters, how they just throw splotches on a canvas and they sell it for $2,000, $3,000, $1 million, right? And as a music artist, I mean, you hear interviews from guys like Eminem and several other people that say, hey, you be a parent, you watch what your kids are listening to, but this is my art. This is, I don't even let cussing in my own house, but here, as a rapper, this is what we do. And this is my art. This is how I express myself. And so art is all about the freedom of expression. So am I suggesting that we impede on an artist and their freedom of expression? Think about that for a moment. And once again, if you have any feedback, I highly welcome it. ampdradio@death2selfrecords.com, or jump in on the live chat here. As an artist, should you have your freedom of expression impeded on? Should you? My response to that is no. You shouldn't have your freedom impeded on. I don't think that anyone, at least coming from me, I'm not suggesting, I don't wish anyone to be controlled. However, I think that we should not shove responsibility under the rug and just abolish it altogether and say, well, you just have to take my art for what it is, and if you don't like it, who cares? Because you're basically just cleansing yourself from that responsibility. I had an artist on the label a few years back. I'm not going to mention names, but I had an artist on the label a few years back who was actually growing a following. And this artist was a favorite of the label. And so this artist went through certain situations in their life and eventually started to turn away from God. And when I would talk to this artist, the artist would respond to me and say, you know, I never asked to be a role model. Not once, even during the time on your record label, have I ever asked to be a role model. My response to that artist was, whether you acknowledged it or not, whether you wanted to or not, whether you knew it or not, you became a role model the second you put your music out there. You didn't have to concede for it. You didn't have to, not concede, but you didn't have to sign off on it. You didn't have to say, okay, I sent my music out. At this point, I am a role model. No, you already are. Because when your music is out there in the public, you don't have any control over who listens to it. And you have no control over what their situation is at the time that they are listening to your music. You don't know what stage in life they are. You don't know what hurts they've gone through. You don't know anything about them because, you know, music is an invisible form, right? You send it out there, it's on Spotify, it's on MySpace, not MySpace, wow, that's going back. iTunes, SoundClick, SoundCloud. You send it out there and you hope to God that it gets circulated all over the place. But what if it does? Even if it doesn't, even if you don't have a large following, you're still getting plays. And you just don't know who is listening. And more than that, you don't know what they're going through when they're listening. So the simplest songs, I remember I wrote a song that was probably one of the worst I ever done quality-wise. But this one song influenced someone to not go through with premarital relations that very night that I released that song. Now, the song was terrible, but it had that much of an impact. And I just decided to write it. There was, like, I wasn't thinking of that person. I didn't know that's what that person was going through. But that person approached me and said, you know what? I hate you, man, because I was gonna do this. Then I heard your song and I realized I shouldn't. So I didn't. And it's your fault. Turned out to be a good thing, but still, you never know. And so you assume responsibility whether you know it or not. You claim responsibility whether you know it or not. Let me ask you this question. Let's say you put out songs that are, you know, talking about killing, right? You want to, I mean, you're the type of artist that you want to take revenge on everyone that's done wrong to you. And your way of putting that out there is, I mean, your way of dealing with those emotions is to write songs, to release songs that have to deal with taking revenge on people and killing them, right? What if that was just your escape? What if that was your music and you honestly don't mean it and you personally would never commit such horrible crimes. The music is just a way for you to get it out there, but you happen to put it out there in public, and you happen to, you know, get a following from it. Maybe you make a nice living from it, right? But it's just art. It's your craft, right? So it's music. You claim no responsibility to it. It's just art. So let's keep with that scenario for a moment. Let's imagine, you know, all is said and done, life is come and gone, you've died, and now you wake up in heaven. Just roll with me here. So you wake up in heaven, you're standing before the throne of God, and hey, he's telling you all about your life. You know, you were a very successful music artist. You got all the emotions that you wanted to. I'm glad to see that you were able to deal with those emotions and get them out in an effective way that worked for you. You say, well, thank you, God. However, everything has a cause and effect. Let me show you what your music did for so-and-so. Now, this may not be the case for everybody that heard your music, but little Jimmy right here was abused as a child, was abused until early adulthood, got into an abusive marriage, and Jimmy's only escape was to listen to music. Now, one day, Jimmy got into the liquor cabinet. Jimmy started drinking liquor. One day, Jimmy decided enough was enough and turned the tables and decided to take revenge based on your music. And started to, you know, basically he killed his wife, went back, killed his dad, went on a killing spree, got the electric chair at age 20. I don't know, this is a very random, very loose, don't take this as, you know, the be all end all, but this is just a very random example. But, you know, God is exposing this artist for how their music affected certain people. This obviously wasn't the litmus test for all people, but certain people, this is what happened. So God turns to this person and say, you may not have been directly responsible because obviously there was all of these situations. They became an alcoholic, they were abused, but you played a role. How do you feel knowing that you have a role in this person being electrocuted in jail at age 20? And because this person never gave his life to Christ, this didn't help. You probably would feel pretty bad. But here's the thing. Some of you may think, nah, that's such a stupid example. I agree. It's not the greatest, most concise example here, but it's just illustrating a finer point. And that point is, whether you have a large degree or small degree, you do claim responsibility whether you know it or not. And you just have to follow the breadcrumbs here, you know? Your music is just an art form. It's something that you can express, you know, yourself, and I would never want to control anyone and stop them from being free to express themselves. However, you have to be careful because when you put your stuff out there, you do have a responsibility. Just think about that. Shout outs to Charlene Richard. She said, you just reminded me of a conversation we had so many years ago. Well, I'm glad about that. Really glad to hear that. Charlene, what is up? Old friend from way back when. Love ya. All right, so let's get into today's scripture. We're looking at Galatians chapter 6, verse 5 to 9. I got it on the screen here. If you're listening to the podcast, just go ahead and keep listening. So Galatians 6, verse 5 to 9 starts with, each of you must take responsibility for doing the creative best. Oh, I love how it says creative best. Creative is just another word for art. That was so good, I got to start from the beginning. Each of you must take responsibility for doing the creative best you can with your own life. Be sure now, you who have been trained to a self-sufficient maturity, that you enter into a generous common life with those who have trained you, sharing all the good things that you have and experience. And let's keep going. Don't be misled. No one makes a fool of God. What a person plants, he will harvest. The person who plants selfishness, ignoring the needs of others, ignoring God, harvests a crop of weeds. All he'll have to show for his life is weeds. But the one who plants in response to God, letting God's Spirit do the growth work in him, harvests a crop of real life, eternal life. That's a mic drop right there, guys. That is a mic drop right there. Let me just skim back through here. I'm pretty much done. I mean, this scripture says it all, and it brings the point back home here. So just to touch base on this scripture once more, take responsibility, each of you. So this is to every artist that's listening. Each of you in Hollywood, each of you in the underground. Each of you must take responsibility for doing the creative best with what you own. You can, the best you can with your own life. Your own life. You're only responsible for yourself, right? Be very sure, not just be sure, but be very sure now you have been trained to a self-sufficient maturity. So if you're arguing with, oh, well, you know, I don't have no responsibility, man, art is art, it just kind of shows to me that you're not being very mature in your thinking. That you enter into a generous common life with those who have trained you, which in this case sounds really good because, you know, who are your musical influences? Those are the ones that train you, right? Sharing all the good things that you have and experience. Good things. So in my mind, when I look at the creativeness, when I look at the music, when I look at the art, I think expressing the good things. Now, you can make your music real and paint real situations. Not everything is happy, but you should at least be generous in what you're doing, you know, what you're sharing. Let's go on to the next scripture here. So don't be misled. No one makes a fool of God. So this here tells me, well, you can make your arguments whatsoever, but you can't fool God. You can be, you know, pretty convincing, but you cannot fool God. You could fool me, but not him. No one makes a fool of God. What a person plants, he will harvest. So the kind of music that you put out, there's going to be cause and effect, whether you know it or not. Let me go here. The person who plants selfishness, ignoring the needs of others, ignoring God, harvests a crop of weeds. All he'll have to show for his life is weeds. But the one who plants in response to God, letting God's Spirit do the growth work in him, harvests a crop of real life. That means we're out of time, ladies and gentlemen. So I just want to thank you for checking us out. This is Amped Radio. I will see y'all next time. This is MC Jin, followed by I'm Sorry by Cambino and B. Rife. Take care.
At least it's how it seems, cause I've been out of town. Based in Hong Kong, don't knock until you try it. I'm eating out here, no Jenny Craig diet. Been less than 2 years, I can't believe the hype. They hear what I'm saying and they see it like Skype. I'm making moves, yes, an assortment. TV and film, multiple endorsements. I'm on a mission, far from just chilling. Spitting in my native tongue, oh what a feeling. Ain't the worst, not saying I'm the best, but when I kick a verse, I'm hip-hop in the flesh. Tell me, why would you try to ruin this? You know how long I've been doing this? 15 years, 10 in the game, go ahead. Pretend like you don't know my name. No rookie, a certified veteran. I ain't really worried about who you think is better than Jen. Me, I'm more of a gentleman. They fighting for attention like Leno and Letterman. I'm in my own lane, cruising, zoning. You can have a spot, yo, call me Conan O'Brien, not the barbarian. Stay away from beef like the best vegetarian. I'm all about positive vibes, more than dollar signs, you see God in my eyes. Still perform when the checks get paid, all the ladies go gaga when I step on stage. It always goes from just dancing to ducking paparazzi and bad romances. Switch my style like the beat does here. This is just a sample, can I get a clear? Absolutely, no need to be shocked, I can say anything and still make it sound hot like. But I'd rather say something.
Turn it up.
This is not your ordinary radio.
What you got? Alright.
You're listening to Amp Radio.
Where the party
Brought
at?
to you by D2S Records. We got you in the mix.
I'm so sorry for thinking so much about me that I forgot about you. I've been a fool. I'm so sorry for letting all this pain and hurt keep me from putting in work.
Man, I'm sorry, I ain't wrote a word in 6 weeks, but I thought of Cambino when I sent 6 tweets. And that day, dude hit me back. I said, let's do some tracks, and the homie said, sweet. And everybody said, yay. But what about the 364 days that I waste when I ain't even spitting, cause nothing's been written and I'm gone without a trace? I'm sorry I don't write, but I'm tired, man. Maybe I'm finished just like Mike. No, not Jordan, not Jackson, not Tyson, Mike Jones, cause I gotta say it twice. Say it twice. I mean, I do seek the kingdom, but they don't seek me, they seek ringtones. Then I rap the word non-stop in an album they could cop, but they didn't even bring home. We say we want lawyers and doctors. We raising a whole generation of little flockers, or little walkers. And if we ain't on 1 or 2 labels, then you walk past our table and you won't even cop us. Listen to the dog, whining like a baby, man. I ain't get flogged, I ain't get beat down, I ain't get mauled, nailed to the cross while the mob just applauded. But I know who did, and Jesus the reason that I breathe and I live. Accept apologies that I'm giving. I don't wanna be the man whose talents got hidden. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry for thinking so much about me that I forgot about you. I've been a fool. I'm so sorry for letting all this pain and hurt
my bad.
keep me from putting in work.
I heard an ounce of prevention worth a pound of regret. Probably more like work that's weighed wet. To say in life that I've been a jerk's a safe bet. Apologizing for it all, too much work, I'll save sweat and just let a little trickle like a sweat gland. And let God's grace cover the rest, man. Let's see wherever will I start. Perfection is the goal. I'm falling short forever of the mark. A husband, father, artist, mentor. Days but yay long got me trying to get an inch more. A perfect balance of it all is what I inch towards. A lovely melody, beautiful as these synth chords. Instead there's discord. I'm trying to please the fans. Believe I'm ticked off when I'm trying to please the fam. Lil' bro Jeremy needs some help with how to be a man. And God is jealous, I ain't taking time to reach his plan. Swear there ain't enough bars for the cause. To my critics who insisting that I'm writing for applause. To my sisters I don't visit, friends who since I never kick it. Cause I'm trying to mold these verses, attract the souls and wicked. My God, another day that I live and fight. I beg you all to stick with me till I get it right. See, I'm still trying to make some sense of it all. Wanna be artists, welcome to a glimpse of the call. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry for thinking so much about me that I forgot about you. I've been a fool. I'm so sorry for letting all this pain and hurt keep me from putting in work.
Wait just a minute now, let me get a word in. My apologies for not putting that work in. I was too concerned with pleasing people at Virgin. Record execs had my brain wrapped like a turban till it unraveled, then crashed and burned. And I hit rock bottom, now I'm in need of a surgeon. But thank God he's teaching, I'm learning. Thank you fans for not kicking me to the curb and being so patient, waiting while I tussle with this bone gristle coal. It's building my muscle. In the past I've let pain knock my hustle. Fear had my mouth gridlocked in the muzzle, and I sat paralyzed, defeated by the lies. Meanwhile, people needed what I have inside. Well, I'ma let it out now, better late than never. Even if I ain't got it all together, you deserve my best. Can't wait forever. If it's now or never, I choose now. And even if this tape doesn't make the mixtape, I gotta get it off of my chest somehow. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry for thinking so much about me that I forgot about you. I've been a fool. I'm so sorry for letting all this pain and hurt keep me from putting in work.